All right.
Totally.
Kenny's on. Jerry's on. I say Kenny. It's really Ken. He's a man now. I can't call him the little kid name. I always do that though, don't I, Ken? I always call you by Kenny. Because that's when we were in elementary school, another elementary school awesome friend. That's what we call them. All right. I think we're good now. Okay. Except now Kelly's a tiny little box in the corner, which
I
I'm
know.
sad about
That's
that. But I don't want,
okay.
I'm not going to hang up and do it all over again or end it and do it all over again. So, but let's
I
go ahead
like
and
being a tiny box.
I get better when you're bigger, but
I know.
that's good. All right. So you guys, it's super important for us, first of all, just to get our day started. Like I already had a little challenge and that could ruffle my feathers a little bit, but I'm good. You guys get it. Like we're here to just do good stuff together. So let's just get into what my mentor says, doubling down on goodness, and just try to get into the good quality conversations that we love getting into with you guys. You're super smart. You guys are all super smart. You're doing super awesome things in your life. You're out there looking for good information to fill your souls up, to make you feel like you're experiencing life the way you want to, really going for it. And I feel like our generation has really kind of had this awakening in this way, which I'm really proud of us for doing. So we're looking for all different kinds of ways to improve our lives and improve the way we experience life. And one of them is our health, right? We're all at that age where our kids are getting older and they're not needing us as much. And it's time for us to like go back to focusing on us and what we need to fill our soul, to get back control of mind, body, spirit thing. And that we've been sort of pausing, putting a pin in, putting to the side while we're nurturing everybody else's. So some of the things that come up when it comes to health are some of these different kinds of ways of eating and exercising. And so we've been following a version of something that's been very popularized recently, which is called the keto diet. We don't do it exactly in its traditional form. We don't do it exactly in anybody else's form. We kind of have our own version, but it's there's a lot of different things out there around it. This word, intermittent fasting, actually it's two words. This phrase, intermittent fasting, that's out there, or just fasting in general, is also out there. And I know for a lot of people, that's confusing. What does that mean? Sure, of course, if you're not eating, you're going to lose weight. Duh. Like that's what fasting is, right? But is that healthy? Is that sustainable? How can you healthfully sustain weight loss or even ideal health when you're doing something like fasting? Because for the most part, I don't know about you, Kelly, I always associated with fasting with either
starving,
right? Yeah, that's a nice way of saying starving. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if it's a nice way, but it's a way to say starving. And then the other one would be like in prayer. I've heard that a lot, like in church. You see those people like putting the cloths over their head and being all serious and doing it for a special thing. Or I've also heard it with Lent, where they fast from specific things for I think it's 40 days. But I'd never heard it in terms of it being a choice for actual optimal good health. Had you ever heard of that before, Kelly?
Not in that form. I think the more we've learned about it, intermittent fasting is not new. And I think that's where we all have heard it before is, the caveman days. There was that cycle that they didn't eat. Well, when you don't eat, it's called fasting. So there was that cycle that they didn't eat because then they had to go run and go get their food and come back and eat it. And then they went through that cycle again. So it's a new fad term of a very old term. So, same thing with keto. Keto's been around forever. Like you said, it was our form of the keto diet or what we do. Similar in some ways, I feel like better in other ways. So it's not anything new. It's just it's becoming more popularized for certain things. And, whether it's good or bad, what you hear on that, we think it's great. And the way we do it, we love it. So I have heard of it, but not in its form like intermittent fasting. When I first read that, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to starve. I'm not going to be able to eat anything. I'm going to be deprived. And, now we have different programs involved too, where we do a little bit longer fasting or, just, different things like that to help our bodies. So intermittent fasting in the form that I know it now has not only been, well, 4 years, right?
Yeah.
That we've had HEROMOM going. So yeah.
So it has this term, intermittent fasting. I'm not exactly sure when that originally started in terms of like using that phrase, but it was a word or a phrase that they had to create to identify this specific strategy or this specific part of a regular person's day to explain that kind of component, that piece of our day, right? So we have like lunch, dinner, breakfast, intermittent fasting. Like it's just one of those things that's part of the day. Everyone does it. If you sleep for any extended period of time, you do it automatically. It just means going for a period of time without eating food, like when we're sleeping. So unless you're waking up every 2 to 4 hours with an alarm to remind you to go eat, you're already doing intermittent fasting. So when we bring intermittent fasting into a diet or a style of eating, we're doing it a little bit more strategically, because with science studying that period and like playing with, what if we extended that? What if we extended it even more? What if we only did certain things during the fast? What if we did nothing during that fasting? You start to get to understand how this can actually be, sort of hacked to be more strategically in your favor to get results by design. So they've come up with all the scientific proof of a number of hours of intermittent fasting that you can actually get really super cool benefits from. Your body kind of goes into this mode that wants to rescue you when you're fasting, which is super cool. Like, obviously, if you're not eating, your body's like, oh man, like we're going to die if we don't get some food. So it has all these systems that sort of kick in to save your life. And what's really great about that is it awakens things that generate amazing sort of health maintenance types of things. So one of the things that I love about intermittent fasting, one of the benefits, is that it reduces inflammation in a way that you could not even imagine. So just like all this puffiness and swelling, especially if those of us who are eating a lot of processed foods, we're experiencing a lot of that, a lot of water retention from all the sodium. It just stays on. Many of us are anywhere from 3 to 15 pounds of excess weight just in inflammation. It's insane. I've seen HEROMOMs, Kelly and I've seen HEROMOMs come in, and they're just doing a 3-day type of, not a fast even, not even a fast, just cutting out a little bit of a fast, actually. Yeah, intermittent fasting. Not a total fast, but 3 days of doing intermittent fasting connected with some incredibly healthy foods. And they're losing anywhere from 3 to 12 pounds in 3 days. That's not fat. That's inflammation. That's weight from inflammation. So we're all carrying this around. So the intermittent fasting allows us to reduce tons of that and just like shed quick weight really, really fast. Another one of the things that I love about it, for those of you who are going for ketosis, a ketogenic state, and I mentioned that too. In fact, I think the description is intermittent or fasting and keto equals confuso. Because it's like, what does that even mean? It's like, what words are you using? Is that English? Like, what is that? But getting into a ketogenic state is really important because for your health, because this is when your body is breaking down fats, excess stored fats, or consumed fats, depending on what kind of fats you're consuming, and breaking them down into 4 components, one of which is a ketone. And when the ketones are created, when the body is breaking down the fat, it's because it's trying to protect the body and especially the brain. So it sends this ketone up to the brain, which energizes it, it nourishes it, it just puts you into the state of just like, high energy, alertness, awareness. Like it wakes you up and keeps you like, I guess if we go back to the caveman days, I guess I'd be like, don't die, go hunt.
Right.
So you don't like start getting lethargic and losing energy. The ketones keep you going. In everyday life like today, where we don't have to go out and hunt, that means more energy in whatever it is that you're doing, whether it be something athletic or just, creatively brainstorming, doing a mastermind, working on your being productive at work, or what, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, it improves the experience of that, because your brain's it's like on jet fuel when you get ketones going on into your brain. And then that third piece is it switches on this like a cellular detox system where it starts helping your cells take out the garbage, take out the cellular garbage, essentially. It's called a state of autophagy. If you're doing fasting enough where this kicks in, then you're literally getting rid of old, damaged cells that are becoming regenerated or recycled into new cells, which is super awesome, which is why people strategically try to get into that state to get rid of that, so that they have all this new cellular generation happening, and all this old stuff that's been sitting around for years and years and years is not serving. It's not efficient. It's not top notch in terms of function. We can get rid of those with fasting. So actually, there are incredible health benefits. It's no accident that we don't eat while we sleep. That's kind of on purpose.
Right.
And it's instinctive, it's just naturally for us without even thinking about it. But there's a reason our body's doing something to make us healthier during that state. So if we just strategize that a little bit more, plus put some really great food with that, our bodies do amazing things. Kelly.
Right. I just want to go back even before that. I mean, all those things that Paula talked about, that's what we experience when we get there. But let's just go back. I'm taking you to elementary school here. What is intermittent fasting? We hear that term. So basically, it's a 16-hour window of fasting and an 8-hour eating window. So, for example, you stop eating at 7 o'clock at night, you would fast until 11 o'clock in the morning, and then 8 or 12 to 12 or 9 to 1, depending on your schedule. And that's scary. That's like, whoa, that seems like a long time. I don't personally eat as late as 9 o'clock, but it's usually the 7 or 8 o'clock time for me. And then because I don't like to have a lot on my stomach when I go to bed. I just sleep better when I'm not over full. So then in the morning, you're not going to eat. And that's the scary part. So you're sleeping for most of that 16 hours. And then you're going to start what we call breaking the fast at 11 or 12 o'clock. And the reason that intermittent fasting works is because it takes about 6 to 8 hours for our bodies to metabolize stored carbohydrates. So imagine if you're eating a ton of carbohydrates, just because that's what a lot of people do. That's what I did too. I was eating bread and all this other stuff. If you sleep, like most people, 6 to 8 hours at night, you are just going to start getting into your stored carbs overnight. So when you wake up and you have your toast or your bagel or whatever, you're just piling back on. So you never really get to burn off the carbohydrates, which is one of the reasons we just keep feeling bloated, we get inflamed, and we gain weight because we're not actually burning those off. So once we can do that within the fasting period, so now you've surpassed your 6 to 8 hours to go into the stores of carbohydrates, you start going into the stored fat for fuel. And then the process that Paula was talking about, ketosis and things like that, that process can start. When your body's gone and looked for carbohydrates and said, well, it's past 6 to 8 hours, it's maybe 10, 16 hours, it's like, hey, there's nothing there for me to eat. So that's when it starts going for the fat. That's where we see the reducing waistlines and the energy, the metabolic boost for your body, because it's going to start burning. It's kind of like your body inside's running. Even though you're standing still, your body's running. Yeah. And then you have that sharper mental focus. So that's the process of what happens when you are fasting. And then all the really good stuff that Paul is talking about starts happening at that point. So it's been a useful tool in our tool belt for sure.
It's a really good point, Brenda. I see your question. I'm going to answer that. What I really want to quick just add on to what Kelly said in her definition of intermittent fasting, 16 hours of fasting, 8-hour eating period. Doesn't mean you eat, obviously, for the whole 8 hours. That's just right. When you have the meals that you're going to have. But those hours have flexibility, so you can change that. And that could be anywhere, it could be 22 hours of fasting and 2 hours of eating. Like that has some flex. It's at the 16-hour mark of fasting is where we start seeing the beginnings of the benefits start to kick in. So if you do less than that, you're not really going to see the full benefit of that. And then Brenda's question, she says, I have a question about fasting and bulletproof coffee or coffee with collagen protein. Is it okay to have that in the morning before your fasting period ends? And if so, why doesn't that break the fast? Such a great question. So for those of you who've heard about bulletproof coffee and that whole formula, which we do a lot of, I actually have that right now. I have bulletproof decaf, a little bit of that mixed together with bone broth. Kelly has her version too. And my form of collagen protein, Brenda, is in the bone broth, obviously liquid form. And then also fats in there that satiate us for not having a food breakfast of sustenance, a sustenance type of food breakfast. And why doesn't that break the fast? Because first of all, there's no carbs. That's a big part of it. So what happens when we consume carbs is that our body wants to use that for energy right away. So if we're breaking the fast with consuming carbs, then our body switches off that instinct to go to the fat stores and break the fats down to create ketones that go to the brain, right? So that process gets paused, and then it goes, and then we're no longer in that what's called ketogenic state. So we don't want to switch that off. We don't want that to switch off. We want to keep that on so that it's going to our stored body fat or any fats that we're consuming. So for example, if you're at a maintenance place, you're not trying to lose weight, but you want those benefits of the fast, then you would consume healthy, awesome fats that your body would then break down and get the benefit of that. And then, so when we can take collagen protein in coffee, it's because there's nothing in there that's going to stop that process of going into a ketogenic state. Does that answer your question, Brenda? Or Kelly, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, actually, I did look into, because I was curious as well, why doesn't that break the fast? There's a bunch of technical processes too, but typically your collagen protein's about 25 grams of protein in that scoop if you're using what we use. And like Paula said, it's not a carbohydrate, so your body's not looking to go to that first. It's still going to burn the fat. But typically, if you're going to eat over 50 calories of something, if you're going to sit down and have something like with your coffee, let's say, your body processes start to change once you put in the additional calories of actual food. Coffee doesn't have much calories. There's not, I can't even remember how many calories are in the collagen protein, but it's not a lot. So once you start adding on the 50 calories, you're also going to trigger a hunger hormone. So you're typically going to eat more than the 50 calories. So that's why that would be considered breaking the fast, because your body processes start to change in the digestive form and what your body starts using. So I hope that helps. Does that make sense, Paula?
Yeah, we want to keep the body basically in that state of where it's looking for fats to break down for nutrients, for all of the processes that get that ketone state fired up. And if we're bringing that other stuff in, it breaks that process essentially.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So
awesome, Brenda. That cool.
Helps. Awesome. Yeah. Great question. If you guys have any other questions, please drop that in. We're trying to not get too sciencey because it can get really confusing. There's lots of really strange words that are used.
Well, and Brenda talked about the collagen protein, which is really, really good, especially for women of a certain age, our age,
yes. Yeah.
and for women that are overweight by, 50 pounds or more? I can't remember the exact number, but so for us and for people who are obese, they need that because just because of our age, and it helps with elasticity, our joints, our ligaments, our skin starts to look really pretty, our hair starts to grow. So all these processes just need that little bit of boost with that collagen protein.
There's just so many benefits, health benefits. So the way that we approach the whole thing with the HEROMOM diet is it's all about long-term, excellent ultimate health, right? That's what we're going for. We're going for sustain, longevity of life, ultimate health experience. So while it has tons of benefits in terms of weight loss, if that's your goal, that happens naturally going through the process of following this diet. And what's awesome about that is that your body starts to go where it's meant to go. Our goal, our focus, our primary focus is getting you into that state of health where you feel like you're living your legacy life, where your health is not something that is holding you back anymore from doing the things that you want to do in life, experiencing life the way you want to, right? When I was obese, there were so many things I could do almost nothing. I could do the bare minimum. And I was, miserable at that. And I didn't care. I didn't want to be like, a model. Okay, fine. I want to be a model. But I was not having these ridiculous expectations that I was going to get there when I was obese. At that point, I just wanted to be able to play with my kids. I just wanted to not run out of breath when I walked up a flight of stairs. I just wanted to be able to put clothes on and not feel like I'm hiding the elephant. Like, I hated the way that I felt and how much that limited me from experiencing joy in life. So I just wanted to feel joyful again. I just wanted to feel good in my skin again and be able to do things that I wanted to do. So regardless of what your goal is when you come into this program, our goal is to get you to the place where your health is at its optimal. So, and your body just does what it needs to get in that place when you're following the program that gets your body into an optimally healthy state. Let your body tell you where it needs to be, not some magazine or someone else's expectation or whatever you're comparing yourself to. And through this process, you will start to learn to love your body, love your health, and love the way that you feel, and change that goal from being a number on a scale to just being, how you want to feel and experience things. And that, to me, is where it starts getting healthy in terms of like up here, here, and here. So, and that's what we want. We want you to look in the mirror and fall in love with the person that you see inside and out by going through this process of knowing that you're showing up, doing good things for yourself that are going to improve you the way that you experience life and the way that other people who you care about in the world experience you too. So, so when it comes to the differences between all the different kinds of keto that are out there, oh my gosh, this is like a whole nother, it is confusing. Don't you think, Kelly? It's like so confusing for people who don't study this.
It's very confusing. I just want to go back to what you were saying just a little bit about learning to love yourself. And, we don't ever, I should say ever, never say never. It's rare we get someone that comes to us that says, I want to be skinny. And if we do, it's usually because they aren't able to articulate what's behind that yet. And we just haven't had that breakthrough. But everyone wants to be healthy. And when we can get these people to that place of health, they start to change inside. They start to love themselves. And that shows on the outside. So, when you're walking around going, oh, I hate myself, or, Paula's saying hiding the elephant, to losing the weight, feeling healthy, and having that smile on your face, my God, you become 10 times more gorgeous than you ever thought you could be because you start to feel really good. So I just wanted to reiterate that because we all deal with certain, demons inside regarding our own self-love. So it definitely does make a difference. But yes, there is tons of keto, and I am part of different keto groups because I'm always learning. I'm trying to find out, the best things. There's some real hardcore keto people out there. I mean, they will, slap you up and down and then kick you out of the group if you eat a carb, like a good carb. And which is so funny because people say, I eat no carbs. Yes, you do. There are carbs in Brussels sprouts. There are carbs in broccoli. There are carbs in all the really good vegetables that we want you to eat. So when people say that they don't eat carbs, they're lying.
And if they really are not eating carbs, then I'm scared for them because you cannot sustain that. I mean, for a brief period of time, maybe, but it's got to be like for a purpose. Like, what is the purpose of that? So let's get to the original ketogenic diet, was designed specifically, and we've talked about this in HEROMOM Nation with the HEROMOMs there, that it was designed, or discovered, I should say, for epileptics, because it's a neurological, disorder that's going on there. So they were trying to find ways to get to bring health back to the brain so that they could reverse or improve that condition. And so they found by cutting out carbs and getting the ketones to the brain, it was healing the brain. Isn't that crazy? Like, it's so cool how stuff gets figured out sort of accidentally like that. Well, maybe it wasn't accidental. There was probably a lot of science behind that. I don't want to make them sound like they're dumb and just stumbled upon it.
Well, the brain is still very, one of those things
it's so complex.
Body. Yeah, it is. So
I think really complex.
They might have had one direction and then figured out something else, which is
really cool. But it's not like how the rocket scientists create a slinky accident. Right. It's not like that accidental. But either way, they were looking for a solution, and they came across this. They tested it, and it completely changed things for kids who are epileptic. They've had other things, obviously, that they've developed since then that also help. But then they started well, if this can help an epileptic's brain, maybe it could help a different kind of person's brain. And so over the years, more and more experiments with the ketogenic diet and brain health were developed and proven to show that it actually is an incredibly healthy diet for the brain. However, the way that they started doing it initially when they started making these discoveries is there is literally no carbs, not even vegetables, just meat only, and not even a large amount of fats. So it was very unbalanced and not sustainable. Way back then, they called it Atkins diet. Later had a little South Beach diet version, and those are still out there. Atkins redesigned their diet, and it has more carbs in it. I still don't like their diet. I studied that too, because they don't really care about food quality. They're still obsessed with the carb count. Yeah. And processed cheese, all kinds of as long as it doesn't have carbs in it or has a very, very low amount of carbs, that's kind of their main goal. But the science in there, if you ever read their book, the science behind it is phenomenal. They do a really great explanation of the science behind the ketogenic diet. So they totally they totally understand that aspect of it scientifically and physiologically how it works, obviously. So then you see all these other new sort of versions of that coming out. So when you hear some of the experts, and I don't want to speak for them, but when you hear some of the experts in health and fitness talking about keto, speaking against keto, one of the reasons why they do is because the way that I just described how keto started is not healthy. So they're against that because it's not sustainable. It's not healthy for you in the long run. And I would agree with that. I would agree with the original version of keto is not sustainably healthy. But then you have these new versions coming out that, let me just kind of talk about ketogenic diet as a whole, or what that even means, ketogenic state. It means that you're burning body fat, breaking it down, and as your primary energy source. So you've taught your body to not be looking for its primary source of energy from carbs. You've taught it to find a different resource number 2, which is body fat, stored body fat. This is why our body stores fat, is so that it can be that resource when we don't have access to carbs, when we're not consuming carbs. So when your body's craving carbs, it's because it wants energy. So that's the quickest type of energy to process and give you a little zing. So when we're not eating carbs, or we reduce the number of carbs, then our body goes into a ketogenic state where it burns body fat. We call it fat burning mode. And it uses that for energy. So if you are trying to lose weight in general and you're eating well and you're exercising and you are losing weight consistently over time, you are in a ketogenic state. You just are. You're burning body fat. So even if you're not on a keto diet, it's actually happening. So a keto diet is going to be primarily focused on quickly getting you into that ketogenic state and having an eating plan in a way that helps you quickly get your body transferred over into that fat burn mode, so you're more quickly and efficiently burning the excess stored body fat. So that's the only difference. So if you're on any kind of a diet that's healthy and is burning and you're losing body fat, you're basically doing keto, if we want to be real about it. But if you're doing specifically a keto diet, then you're going to start hearing things like intermittent fasting, eating more fats, reducing the amount of carbs, or having no carbs at all, eating only things in high protein, lots of bacon, lots of meat, lots of cheese, those kinds of things, lots of different variations thereof. So, Kelly, I wanted to talk a little bit about the carb aspect of it. When you aren't consuming vegetables, question mark, like big red flag.
Yes,
so
huge.
Veggies have carbs. So, it's like, well, if I'm consuming vegetables, then aren't I going to kick myself out of a ketogenic state? Well, you certainly can. That's absolutely possible. That's why it's important to have somebody guiding you through that process so that you can consume healthy, high nutrient vegetables and get fiber and, like I said, nutrients in your body that we're supposed to have with vegetables, but not to the point where it kicks you out of what your goal is. So that balance, right, of having what your body needs, but still also getting you the results that you want at the pace that you want. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and I just want to say that that is super important, and I totally learned my lesson on that. And Paula, Michelle, and I, we all do experimentation on ourselves before we ever roll anything out. And it was about 2 years ago, I was experimenting with something technical about our program. And I was having huge issues with my digestive system. Everything was going through me. And so I got on the phone with Michelle, and she's like, girl, what are you eating? Because I was keeping track of everything. And she's like, you don't have a single effing vegetable in there. And I was like, oh my God, I don't. It was like I don't even know why. It just happened. And see, that's why we experiment with ourselves. And that's what happens is my body was dying for it. I mean, it was like, it wanted it so bad. So it was revolting against what I was giving it. And once I put and it was kicking me out of ketosis. I was very, very light pink. I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, all the technical things. And she's like, you've got to put vegetables back in there, girl. And I did. And within a day or two, I was back to normal. So it's so important. So if anyone tells you not to eat vegetables, you need to run far and fast. That's a fight or flight. You punch them and then leave. Because it is very, very, very important. And that's not necessarily the best health thing. And you have to understand that too. Whenever you are looking at something, research, ask questions. If someone's saying don't eat vegetables, you say, why? Why? That's stuff from the earth. That's our normal things that we've had on this earth forever. So that's very normal for our bodies, our systems, our minds to know that we need to eat that stuff.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And this is where the split starts to happen with ketogenic diet names, like that phrase, where now that's why it gets confusing, because that has been found out, it's been proven that a zero carb diet is not healthy or sustainable. So all of these different, experts or programs are coming in, bringing more of those vegetables in. And so you're like, I don't understand. If ketogenic diet is no carbs, then why are we consuming carbs? Or people are cycling them in, or different things like that. So again, there's just so many variations, and for different purposes and reasons. For us, just so you know, it's very important for us to be, one, it's got to be holistic, it has to be high quality, and it has to be all natural. That's the most important thing. We want premium stuff going into your body to get optimal health. That's the number one goal. And then if you have weight loss issues, then we're helping you also. We're catering the program towards those who are wanting to lose excess body fat. This is such the perfect diet for optimal health, but it is like so super extra perfect for people who want to lose excess body fat. So we know that we need that balance of reducing the number of carbs, but not reducing nutrient-dense carbs that our body needs to function properly. If you're not getting veggies into your body, you're not, there's a whole natural process that goes on from getting fiber into your body and the way your body digests that and pulls out the nutrients from that. So high quality, I would say if we put some kind of stamp of standard on carbs or limits on carbs, it would be more around the quality than anything else. But every kind of vegetable has its place in the program, in our program. So we do have moments where we increase the number of carbs. We do have times in our program where we eat just carbs. I know it sounds crazy, right? How can it be ketogenic diet if we're eating just carbs for periods of time? But again,
that was another experiment. That was a cool experiment that Paula did, but sort of by accident, right?
It was by accident on my part, but it was very much by design on who inflicted that upon me.
Exactly. Right.
I went on a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat where they have only vegan food. And I had been on keto for a long time now, or low carb diets for a long time by the time I went there. So I knew the difference between high carbs, low carbs, high quality carbs, that kind of stuff, low quality carbs. So when I went there, they had all kinds of carbs, but they had no meat. They had protein too, right? Because vegetables have protein in it too. They had some tofu and things like that. But I was looking to, okay, how can I maximize my experience in this with the food that they provide in this experience, but still staying true to my way of wanting to eat. So I identified each meal, what they had set out for us, and they had a fabulous layout for us with the food. But they definitely included a lot of high carb foods. And I saw people going back for 1, 2, 3 plates of this stuff. And I'm thinking, man, if they're thinking just because they're eating vegan, that they're not going to gain weight, they haven't done the work to understand how that can happen. They were eating high carb foods that were definitely going to cause them to gain weight on this experience. And there was no exercise. We weren't supposed to exercise at all. We take gentle little walks, but regardless, I was picking out foods that I knew were low carb, high in fiber, and high in nutrients. And I ended up losing like 10 pounds or something like that in those 10 days. It was crazy. And I felt amazing. I also took with me Shakeology. So I skipped their breakfast, and I only they only offered breakfast and lunch and tea for dinner. I skipped their breakfast, and instead I took little packets of coconut oil with me, and I just, cut that open, just chugged it straight down, and had a little bit of, a little tiny scoop of peanut butter. That was the only thing I ate the whole time at breakfast. And then, and normally we don't eat peanut butter, but that was what they had. If they had almond butter, I would have done that, but that was too expensive. All the food was donated. So that was the closest thing that I could get. And then for lunch, I had just like greens and just greens, essentially, like either fresh greens or cooked greens and nothing else. And then for dinner, I had my Shakeology that I brought with me and another packet of coconut oil. So I was on a very low carb, moderate fat, intermittent fasting diet for 10 straight days. Actually, it was more like 11 straight days. And it was the most amazing feeling I have ever had. My energy was high. My body was just doing its thing and feeling so good. So I came back after that and talked with Kelly Michelle. I'm like, we have to bring this to the Hero Moms. This was amazing. But 10 days was kind of extreme. 11 days was kind of extreme, I think, for the Hero Moms. So we broke it down and created a 3-day version of that for the Hero Moms, which we do every month. So it's no food, no animal proteins, and just vegan only. And I think that that's kind of rare when it comes to a keto diet. That's why we told that whole little story. That's one of the things that makes our program unique from other low carb or keto type diets, is because they don't value the vegetables the way that we do in this program. I mean, that's not fair for me to. I'm not trying to judge. They're not building in this way. They build vegetables in a different way, right? Because I've seen some really excellent other programs out there too. Yes. So, hats off to them. They've inspired me. I've studied their stuff because their stuff is, spot on. We've made some changes. We're different than them, different ways. We've added other things that we feel are really great. as well. But my whole point in all of that is vegetables have a very important part of a ketogenic diet, or of an overall healthy diet. And in our program, it's absolutely present. So we don't say keto the way we describe ours. We call it low carb. And you've heard that term, low carb, high fat, low carb is another term that you hear out there. That would be a better description of what we do, because we feel that that's more balanced.
Definitely. And I think, what scares people is not even the low carb part. I think it's the high fat, or, they think we're just opening up a can of Crisco, which is like the worst for you, but it's the good fats in our diet. I mean, we're getting rid of the oils that we shouldn't be having in our bodies. We're learning. Michelle is an awesome resource for us, because she's able to experiment and read. There are certain oils that appear really good, but might be high on the inflammatory scale. So we don't include those. So there's reasons that we have certain things that we take and have in our program, and reasons that we don't have them in there. And it's not because they might be bad for me. Maybe they aren't bad for me, but maybe a majority of our hero moms, it becomes something that's very inflammatory for them. So, and it's very customized, which is what I love, because we look at the hero mom not as one person, but each individual that make up the whole. So what works for Paula doesn't always work for me, and vice versa. What works for Michelle may not work for us. So, that's why there's three of us. That's why we experiment with different things and figure out, will this work for the majority, and then how do we help each person individually? So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's a really good description. So everything we have is created as a template experience for everyone, right? We know this is our baseline that pretty much works for everyone. But then we have that ability, because of the experts that we have pulled together as a team, Michelle Kelly and I, our knowledge in research, and of course Michelle's knowledge as a certified nutritionist and a licensed holistic health practitioner, allows us to have that ability to safely customize things for people. We get a lot of people coming in with health issues, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, all different kinds of stuff, on different kinds of medications. And so they're worried, like, if I start doing this, what is this going to, how is my body going to react? We also have people who are coming in with eating disorders, right? I had an eating disorder. I was obese. I could not stop doing this. My relationship with food was really super unhealthy for a lot of years. So we have, Kelly and I help kick in with our knowledge as certified high performance coaches to help you work through those things, so that those kind of sort of twisted and distorted ways of thinking of things, with the stories that we tell ourselves, start to change. We start to heal those, as our body's starting to heal all at the same time. So we're sort of addressing it from all these different angles that are necessary. When I was first losing weight, I didn't have the mindset piece in it. So I was just trying to get all the results, primarily, honestly, from exercise only, because I didn't understand food and I didn't understand how to change the way that I think. So I was exercising like a beast, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, plus mountain biking on the weekends. And I did lose weight, but I didn't lose what was dysfunctional up here to bring me joy and happiness. So I was trying to out-exercise my negative thinking, and on the outside it looked successful, but on the inside it was still tragically broken. So I had to do a lot of work on that, and the high performance stuff that we bring into the program is the most life transforming tool that Kelly and I both have experienced that has helped us. And by default, getting our minds right and getting our, getting the way that we think healed, and healing the body at the same time, starts opening up space for us to really get down into that soul space, right? That soul, to the soul of who we are, and really start thinking more aspirationally in terms of like legacy. Why am I here? What is my purpose? That once we work through some of that pain that we feel of what's going on outside and what's going on in our thinking, we get to start thinking about purpose and legacy and really making this life experience be about what moves the needle for us, what makes a difference for us, especially if you have kids. What crazy part is we start having kids along this way with all of this crazy dysfunctional stuff going on, and we're trying to do the right thing for them and show up as our best self there without all the tools. So it's really difficult. We get stuck in that space in our life where all we're doing is doing. We're like, there's no being, there's no experience of who am I going to be. It's just, what do I have to do? I have to get my kid to school. I have to I have to, go do my kid's diapers. I have to go do the laundry. I have to go to my job. I have to go take care of my husband. It's the doing stuff that life becomes all about, and we lose our soul, our connection with our soul, because we don't allow space for that. And that is what starts bringing us down. When we don't have connection with that, and we start losing touch with that, then we start feeling trapped. And then we start getting twisted up here. That's how it was for me anyway. And maybe you guys, give me a little emoji if you can relate to that. Whether it doesn't matter, you're a man or a woman, man sometimes especially, right? Because gosh, they're sometimes the sole provider for the family. Like, when do they ever get to think about themselves?
Right. And I love how you bring purpose into it, because I used to think what I consider wrong about purpose. Not everybody is born to be, Elon Musk. I mean, he's got a huge purpose and he's still, fulfilling that purpose on this earth, but I am not going to be him. Maybe your purpose is just being the best freaking mom you can be. Maybe it's just, being the best person at your job. These are all purposeful things. And when you start to change that purpose is not this movie star or the richest person in the world, then you can open up to what your purpose might be. So I'm here because of all of you, because of Paula. I mean, Hero Mom is here because we have this need to serve and help other women. It's different for everyone. And so I love that. And we just help people discover that. And it's very simple. If you're living your life the way you want to live it, you're going to feel good about that. And I love it.
Yes. And I know Kelly didn't mean it when maybe if it sounded to you like, maybe you're just a mom trying to be the best mom in the world.
No, that's so important.
That's like that's the most, you guys, being a mom is the most influential position in the world. Think about it. We have the most influential position in the world. We influence every undeveloped human being adult
right.
for all their growing up years, and what the impact that we have on them during that time where they're shaping and forming who they are and what they're going to be in this world, and who they want to be, like getting connected to their soul, right? That's a massive responsibility. There's no influencer in the world that trumps the influence that a mom has. And the dad obviously has a massive influence as well. But let's be real, that there's something about the relationship with a mother and a child that can elevate you to the highest points of a mountain or destroy you and make you hate your life. So it's such a key role that we take so seriously. That's why we call it Hero Mom. And that's why our program has legacy. So I want to Jody said, I can't say enough, all three aspects, the thinking process, the diet, and the exercise, wow, it makes it a whole program. If we don't take care of the thinking process, everything else won't stick. That's so well said.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfectly said. And that's the thing. That's why, people call these yo-yo diet experiences, because we go up and down. What's going on? What's happening inside of us? If we don't change this and get connected here, we don't raise. I love to use this, and I've used it before, but so if you haven't heard it, and even if you have, it's good to be reminded. Think about a thermostat in a home. You set the temperature of what you want to experience inside the home. So whatever's going on outside of the home, whether it's super hot or super cold, the house stays at that setting. So imagine us in our lives like that, right? What's going on here, what's going on here, that's our thermostat setting. So no matter what tools we bring in, no matter what influences we have outside of us, no matter what desire we have, if we don't level this up, then everything goes back to where that's set. So if we don't evolve this and raise that setting or adjust it to where we want it to be for who we are now and where we want to go moving forward, then all the tools, all the money that we spend, all the time that we spend, the results that we get all ends up back to that old place. That's why for 20 years as an obese person, my weight was like this. Because I didn't change here. I was only working on the outward stuff. So that's why it's so key, you guys, that you have the whole human involved in a program. So even if it's not our program, you guys go out and find something else that you make sure that it addresses all of those pieces. Like let it feed your soul, let it feed your spirit, and fill you up with goodness about how you think of yourself. That you're not going through the motions because you're beating yourself up going, I need to lose this weight. I'm so disgusting. I hate myself. I hate how I look. I have to, starve myself here, because you can get obsessive about these things, right? Even within HEROMOM, we have to stress not to get obsessive. We don't gauge on the scale. We gauge on these little tiny sticks called keto sticks.
Right.
And like Kelly was describing that story early on when she wasn't eating any carbs, people get, again, because they're beating themselves up to get a result. I can't have any carbs. If I have any carbs at all, I'm not going to lose the weight. I'll just cut them all out, and that's going to get me faster, better results. And it's just not true. It doesn't work that way. It has to be balanced. Nobody gets away with getting world-class results, sustainable world-class results, trying to take shortcuts and cheat the system.
Right. Our bodies are very smart. So it knows, just like, even for athletes that are very, very low in body fat, I personally knew an athlete that he would pass out every time he turned around, because he was so low body fat. His body was not balanced. So, that's an issue in itself. But, our bodies know when we need something, and when we get it, it performs. It performs. So we're teaching your bodies how to perform at their optimal level and feel awesome. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah. So there is, going back to our title of, or the description of this talk today is, there are lots of things out there, and we encourage you guys to do the work, to do some research. Like, don't just believe anybody. Don't even just believe us. Like, go test what we say. Do your own research and make sure that in your gut you feel right about what it is that you're doing. Is what I'm putting in my mouth going to give me the result I want ultimately for the person I want to be in this world, this person I want to be in this lifetime, right? Like, just even if you did that, I want this piece of food, but not at the cost of the legacy I'm trying to build, or the way I want to feel, or how I want to experience life. Like, even if you just started using that filter and really thinking about being very conscious of how you're treating yourself, right? Don't go for that short term, go for the long term. The payoff is in the long term. It's not in the short term. So we encourage you guys, if you want to learn more about our program, click on this link, get into HEROMOM Nation. We're about to start another HEROMOM Diet Challenge documentary group. Now's the best time to get in there. It's normally the cost of this program. This is, again, we've talked about it before. If you've heard, we're doing a very special thing right now where we're just doing a challenge and documentary, collecting data on all of the HEROMOMs who are coming in and experiencing this, so that we can share your guys' results and stories with women around the world, because we're going to launch this internationally soon. And so we just want some of the women who are ready to make this change using this program to come in and experience our whole course with the Diet and Challenge. So for that reason, we've made it super accessible, so that nobody would have barriers. And we reduced it by, I don't know, like 97% or some crazy number like that. Is that right, Kelly?
Yeah, it's over 90 for sure. Definitely.
So it's normally, do you remember what
it's over $2,000, just over $2,000. and we're offering it at, whoa, drum roll please, $147.
Oh my God, that's so.
Never before have we done that.
Essentially 4 years of research that have gone into this is just like free. And you know, the costs that come in, a couple reasons. One, you got to have skin in the game. If you don't have skin in the game, people who don't pay attention. And I don't mean that to be mean. It's just real. I can tell you that myself. How many different things have I gone online and researched and found for free? And they were probably really awesome, honestly. Did I follow them? No. Because why? No skin in the game. And so you got to have a little bit of that to get committed. But yet it's not so much skin in the game where you feel like you're raw and naked and can't take care of other things that you have to be responsible for. Right? Hey, Anthony. Anthony's on again.
Oh, he's back. Hey.
Woohoo! But it's so important to get your health in that place where you feel right with yourself so that you can then take on and bring into your life the other things that you don't want to miss out on. Like, there's just never a time in your life where you're ever going to say, you know what, I'm really glad I didn't care about my health during that time. You'll never say that. You'll always say, with no regrets, when you're 100 years old, looking back at your life and you see no regrets, you're going to say, you know what, I'm so glad that I listened to my gut when I was listening to those ladies talking about getting my health to where I want it, and I made a move. I showed up for myself, and I transformed that whole thing. I raised the setting internally, mindset, and soul set so that I could change my life and experience it the way I wanted to. So you guys, please, if it's not with us, go do something somewhere, show up for yourself, and celebrate that you did that. We want that for you.
Yes, we'd love to have you in Hero Mom Nation. So click the link to join us, and you can have these types of conversations and more in our group with other Hero Moms.
Yes. All right, you guys, if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them in here or get into Hero Mom Nation and drop them in there, and we'll hang out with you guys over there. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning. We'll see you
Tuesday.
again on Tuesday.